Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open on a German U-boat in the Atlantic Ocean during World War I. Captain von Schoenvorts sees an English vessel that he suspects is carrying munitions, so he orders it be torpedoed out of the water. First Seaman Dietz wants to go finish off any survivors, but the captain is a little less psycho, so tells him to go play in the bilge. Two of these adrift survivors are the British biologist Lisa and the American submarine expert Tyler, who's like, "What just hit us?" A whole boatload of disposable English sailors appear from the fog and didn't save much, but they made sure to grab the booze. Captain Bradley feeds the pair alcohol while talking about their dehydrated state, so I think it's best we let Tyler make all the decisions. He tells the captain to shut up because Tyler is so in tune with his profession that he can sense a submarine surfacing. Navigating their little raft through the fog, they all board the sub before the captain has a chance to get out and immediately take him prisoner. Von Schnitz sounds the alarm, so the British wait at the hatch, knocking out Germans one at a time until they wise up to the situation. They exit a different ladder and everyone begins fighting, but anyone who gets knocked into the water just completely disappears. One guy shoots someone in the fog, but it was probably his own side, while Lisa picks up Tyler's gun and catches herself a body. She just killed a man to save this guy's life, but he doesn't even acknowledge it and just says good job to some random sailor. Tyler then orders the captain to contact the nearest British ship, but Lieutenant Dietz destroys the radio because he's a loyal little seaman. This means that when they come across the HMS Puffin Stuff, it begins firing on the submarine because it's covered in German iconography. They lose power and the U-boat plummets to the bottom of the ocean, where they get the power going again, but their navigation equipment is damaged. It took this submarine expert 6 whole days before he realizes they're not even going north, and that's only because they see icebergs. But before he can correct the heading, the Germans take back the sub because the captain had a hidden key in Das Boot. All of the men are locked up, but Lisa's allowed to hang out in the captain's quarters because how could a woman pose any threat? Well, she could release all the prisoners, who then take over the submarine again because these guys don't learn from their mistakes. We've come in contact with an enemy ship, but the torpedoes are aimed directly at it and only take a single button to fire. Tyler destroys what Captain von Schoenvorts says was a ship full of fuel and food, so now we're stuck out here and going to starve. Luckily our hero doesn't think that far ahead and nobody even bothered to turn the sub around because now we're surrounded by ice. The enemies put aside their differences to get out of this and come across the uncharted island of Caprona. They circle it for a place to make port and find a plant floating in the water, so the chef Olson looks at it like a juicy steak. It came from the interior of the island through an underwater river, and since submarines can submerge, they decide to check it out. Tyler uses the periscope to backseat drive while the pilot probably doesn't even understand English, and they scrape the whole way through. Despite this, they make it out the other side safely and pop up in the lush green interior of a dormant volcano surrounded by prehistoric wildlife. They all hop out to look around, and almost immediately an ambitious seaman gets swallowed up by a giant plesiosaur. It would have been nice if Tyler warned everyone after seeing it through the periscope, but karma rears her ugly head in the form of Olson. He's got stuck in the hatch like Winnie the Pooh and accidentally crushes Tyler's arm, so passes him up a gun to at least protect himself. It takes about 50 bullets without reloading to bring this thing down before Olson turns it into a large slab of cooked tuna. They eat good that night off the back of the Loch Ness Monster, however they can't drink the contaminated water and need to travel further inland in the morning. Now Lisa is apparently on a waving basis with the German captain, and they discover a pond that tastes clean, which isn't how microscopic bacteria works, but they begin filling bottles anyway. Suddenly Caveman leap out and attack the crew, but at the same time 2 allosaurs come strolling through, so they all turn tail and run. With their modern weapons, the crew easily destroy the dinosaurs, and now they're set on food for months. During the Caveman attack, one was knocked unconscious, so Tyler claims the Neanderthal for himself and slings him over his shoulder. When he wakes up, the terrified native tries to get away, but the crew hold him down because Tyler wants to question him, as stupid as that sounds. Not that anybody understands him, but conveys a fair bit through his grunts, including that the cavemen are called Bolu while the evolved are called Galoo. He even draws a little evolutionary chain of himself becoming smarter if he goes further inland, but this is all gibberish to Tyler. For some reason he punches on them. They bring him back to the submarine for further study, which would have been easier if he was conscious. This is a particularly inquisitive caveman, despite what the brow might have you believe, and is more than I can say for some of the Galoo. Sees fire, so he signals that he's seen the hot burny stuff come from the ground and not from a volcano but from a source of oil. The crew could use this to get back to civilization, so they take their caveman guide ashore and risk their lives for that sweet crude. Upon reaching a tribal boundary line, says that this is as far as he goes, but Dietz shoots it and now there's no boundary anymore. That's why this is the smart crew, while some of the dummies get jealous, so at night they attack our camp. However, being less evolved, they attack single file instead of all at once, so they fail in their endeavor and we lose only 2 seamen. Even takes out one of his moronic brethren, so I guess that makes him part of Team Brain, and just like he grunted, they discover a source of crude oil. It just needs to be refined, so we rush back to the submarine to grab that portable refinery while stopping on the way to watch a dinosaur battle royale. In the blue corner is a mother Triceratops defending her eggs, and in the red is a Ceratosaurus who is in the mood for some omelets. Its short arms prevent him from winning, and that's another win for the herbivore, who now just leaves this creature to rot because it doesn't eat meat. Between the refinery and the sub are two Styracosaurus that gotta go, so that night they blast the hell out of them with the cannons. They only need to take down one and the other runs away. Then by morning we have an entire woodsman's base on the location and refinery filling barrels. Our caveman mascot gets put to work on the saw, but every so often he pensively gazes into the horizon, dreaming of one day becoming Galoo. Lisa discovers that all life on the island gets more evolved as it migrates deeper, which is why we get cavemen and dinosaurs on the coast. That's basically what I'm already told them, with a few grunts less, when suddenly a fight breaks out between Olson and Dietz because one stands up for himself and the other is a douchebag. Everyone just stands around laughing, and they tumble into the oil until Captain Von Captain tells them to stop acting like children because we have an island to escape. Maybe even find some vegetables or something, and that night Om's island programming returns and he just wanders off to join the Bolu. In the morning the crew discover the tribe of cavemen doing cavemen things when suddenly their hunters pop out of the bushes. They kill 3 of our crew, but nobody with names, while Lisa hides, but this outsider only adopted the bush while these Bolu were born in it. One kidnaps her and brings her back to their village, where they all fight over who gets to name the blonde. But why aren't these able-bodied fighters helping their friends? Tyler's just killing them all up on the ridge and tries to shoot Om because all these guys look alike, but fortunately he's out of bullets. This heroic moron is still our friend and saves his attempted murderer from the approaching pterodactyl by pushing him out of the way. He then charges this monster with his bone hatchet like he's done this before, but is immediately scooped up and carried away to be eaten. This is the last time we see Om, who never got to fulfill his dream of becoming a Galoo and died a lowly Bolu. Meanwhile Tyler tries to figure out a way to rescue Lisa, but luckily these fools are so worked up fighting each other that she kinda walks right out of the village. A few who notice her chase her down, but the island begins to erupt and they're all crushed beneath some boulders except for one. Tyler chases after them and nearly gets blown to smithereens by an eruption, but manages to avoid falling to his death. He catches up to Lisa and her friend when the pair fall into the oil swamp, and I'm not really sure what this man's plan was. Tyler just stomps him into the ground, then swims to the bank with Lisa, but finds the native Galoo tribe with pretty drawings on their shields. These more evolved cavemen die just as easily as the dummies because they try to attack Tyler thinking he's a Bolu. Our hero fights shields akimbo and defeats all of his attackers, who've achieved the ability to make clothing at a Flintstones level. As the land that time forgot reminds us it's collapsing around them, the last Bolu simply disappears into a fiery hell that opens up. Tyler regroups with Lisa and they flee back to the refinery, but the rest of the crew have already returned to the sub with the fuel. The captains intend to wait for the pair, but Dietz mutinies by shooting his captain and forcing everyone else down into the sub. He abandons Tyler and Lisa, who shout from the shore, but they don't want to be on this submarine anyway because it isn't going anywhere. The waters are boiling, so the crew suffocate inside, but Captain Bradley shoots Dietz just before the U-boat goes down for a bit of satisfaction. The belief is that Caprona erupted once they took enough oil because it doesn't want its location to be known, so prevented them from escaping. There's also the whole thing of you can't go backwards with evolution, so the island forces you to go deeper to survive. Much later, according to the Beard, the only survivors throw a canister in the ocean that details everything that happened. It's then found a couple years later on a coast by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who publishes it into a work of fiction. And the movie ends.